No matter how you like to look at it, email is a fundamental part of our day to day. And so being able to automate your emails can unlock a lot of potential. In the latest version of Kestra, we've just added a mail trigger. So now you can automatically run your workflows based on new emails. So let's look at how you can use this, maybe in combination with AI, to make some powerful workflows. Now here's an example where we're using that mail trigger. It's very simple. Whenever you receive a new email, it will automatically trigger this workflow. When it does so, we can use things like expressions to be able to pass information about that email to our tasks. Now, I want to use an AI agent here to help summarize my emails. There's nothing worse than getting loads of big emails full of information, and all you want is a nice brief summary of what's going on. So here I've got this lovely Gmail trigger that's connected to my Gmail account. Anytime I receive a new email, it's going to pump it into the Kestra AI agent, which in this case is actually using GPT-5 Mini as the model of choice. And then we're going to get a nice log summary at the end. So this should help me be more efficient and summarize each of my emails. There are actually two plugins for doing this. This is using the mail receive trigger. So how this will work is it will work on an interval. I've currently set that to 60 seconds, but you can define it to be maybe daily or hourly. What it will do is then batch all those emails together. So if you receive 5 emails in that minute or 10 emails an hour, it will batch those all together and create a nice big array full of emails. This is pretty handy because then it means here I can then hand all of those emails to my AI agent to give me a summary of what emails I've had. And as you can see, I've given my system prompt here a few different bits to work with, such as make it clear what emails have action items. So I can prioritize those ones first and come back to later ones such as newsletters and random webinar invites. I can look at those ones later, but get to the important ones first. So that's a good step. Secondly, I've told it to be very concise and clear with how it gives me the output, adding a new line between each email. So not only is it giving me this information, it's adding a little bit of formatting so that I can see it. Now, I'm just sending this as a log message just for this demo, but you could easily send this as a Slack message to yourself, or you could maybe send it as another email or send it to another platform where you are often checking, somewhere where there is less noise. Now, here's an example from earlier where I sent 3 separate emails. We can actually have a look at these if we go to the trigger at the bottom here where we can view what emails were received by that trigger. And we can see here it received 3 different emails. We've got email 0, and we can have a quick look here and we can see that the subject was the weekly pulse, new HR policy, tech update. That doesn't sound hugely important, so let's ignore that one for now. Now, the next one here is a rescheduled meeting of the Q4 budget review. Again, nothing that you need to necessarily jump on straight away. It's just saying it's scheduled later in the future. We can come back to that one later in our day. Now, the last one, if we just change that to the last email, critical alert, database latency spike in production cluster. That sounds rather important and sounds like something I should have a look at. Now, in this example here, I had my AI agent summarize it, and we can see at the top here, it has given me that email about the database latency spike. It's given me the clear action items from that email without me having to go and investigate further, and told me what I need to do. Then it's told me about my rescheduled meeting and just told me what any action items, but specifically when it is. So I know it's now next week. Cool, that's next week's problem. And then lastly, it's given me some information about the HR update. We all know that HR updates, we have to do an online training course, not particularly fun, but it is an important thing to do. That's at the bottom of the list because the deadline for that is December. So we've got a little bit of buffer here, makes that a little bit easier. But I love the way that this workflow works because you're able to take all those emails at once and pass them over to this. So this is a really good example of where you could batch this to run every hour, or maybe you could run this at the end of your workday where some people who are very busy in meetings, right, they get to the end of their day, they then go through their inbox. Having an AI agent here to help you figure out which of those emails need your attention is super helpful. Now, you can actually take this a little bit further as well. So I obviously just handed over all of the emails of this trigger.emails expression, but I can actually loop through each of these emails too if I wanted. So here I'm now passing over to my for each block here, which we can see nicely in the topology view, all of those emails, and then each of those runs of the for each loop, which gives me task run here, means I can access the subject, the date, and the body. And this one here is just summarizing for each of those three things and then providing a log. So I'll get 3 separate summarized messages for each of those emails. So this is a better example if, let's say, you want to just get a very brief summary of the email and then you can go and look later, rather than, because sometimes the subjects aren't hugely descriptive or there's a lot of waffle. This will help you figure out, is the email important, is it not? And the other nice thing here is you could also change this prompt to give you a structured output where instead of it giving you a summary, you could have it figure out, is this an important email? Send it to a Slack message. Is it not an important email? Ignore. Because at the end of the day, it's still in your inbox. You can still go and view it. But you can have it prioritize certain emails that it deems as important, like that critical database email. If you would rather do things a little bit more real time, now this example uses a different trigger. This is the real-time trigger. So instead of it batching those emails together, it's going to run this per email. So what this does now is it removes the need for that array of emails. Instead, it's just trigger.subject.date.body. You can think of this more like a webhook, right? This is only going to do one event at a time rather than give you all of them in one go. And as a result of that, this means this might be a better fit for those prioritizing whether you should go and look at the email straight away by sending a separate Slack message with an if statement, or just ignoring it and putting it into the discard pile for now so that you can just go and read it when you catch up on your inbox. So this is a really nice way. It's a little bit cleaner because you don't have to specify, which of those emails you need to use. It's only one email. So it just makes that process a little bit nicer. And it will just run this every time. So I can actually go to a recent execution I ran of this. And ironically, this has been running on my inbox all day. So it's just been running it on emails I've been testing, which is rather funny if I say so myself. But here we can see that I sent myself an email on understanding DevOps. It's given me a nice summary of it. And so this is just a great example of where you can have AI do the work for you rather than you having to go and, manage your inbox. Now, it is worth noting we also have a dedicated trigger for Gmail, where this is a little bit more fiddly to set up because it requires a few different client IDs and secrets, but this then lets you configure it to look at the labels you have inside of Gmail. So if you're someone who uses Gmail labels, this is a very good trigger for you. So let's say you have certain email addresses that will get flagged as urgent because they're from certain emails. You can now have it so that this trigger will only trigger when you get emails that automatically get assigned to that label. So you can almost let Gmail do some of the work so that those emails are already filtered. But you can obviously still use Gmail, like all my examples still use Gmail for the generic mail plugin. So you don't have to use that, but it does give you a few bits of flexibility if you want to be able to have a little bit more control over what triggers the trigger. So hopefully that's given you a nice insight into automating your emails using Kestra. I'd love to hear how you're potentially going to use this in the future, especially because one of the examples I'm imagining is you might have some customers email you about issues and you can now have a workflow automatically realize that that's an issue and then maybe go and create a GitHub issue or a support ticket to handle that without you having to necessarily go and find that. So this is just an example of where you can help automate parts of your day-to-day, and you can still add things like human in the loop in the middle to make sure that it isn't just creating random support tickets. You are happy that what it's decided is correct and it can go away and create those support tickets so that you can get things done quicker and your customers' problems will be resolved sooner. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It helps us out a load. And if you enjoyed using Kestra, make sure to give us a star on GitHub.